helping the neurodivergent loved ones understand the neurotypical mental load, why what feels like criticism may actually be their brain sequencing, forecasting, and carrying the invisible map of family life. That person may be your partner, your parent, your brother, your sister, your adult child, your roommate, or someone else you love and live with. But what if they are not simply trying to control the room? What if they are not criticizing as much as they are sequencing? What if they are not nagging as much as they are tracking time? What if they are not overreacting as much as they are anticipating the next breakdown before it happens? What if the person you love is not trying to make you feel small, but is carrying an invisible map of the household, the schedule, the needs, the missing pieces, and the consequences no one else has noticed yet? Today, we are flipping the lens. We spend so much time helping neurotypical people understand the neurodivergent brain, and rightfully so. But today, we are going to help neurodivergent loved ones understand the neurotypical mental load, because sometimes what feels like criticism may actually be their brain sequencing, forecasting, time tracking, and carrying the invisible map of family life. Welcome back to the Path to Peace Therapy podcast. I'm Stephanie Buckley, parenting strategist, ADHD specialist, and family systems coach. I help parents, partners, and families understand ADHD, anxiety, OCD, mood disorders, emotional regulation, and family systems so they can create more structure, calm, and connection in their homes. In this podcast, we talk often about the neurodivergent brain. We talk about dopamine, executive dysfunction, time blindness, working memory, sensory overload, emotional dysregulation, hyperfocus, and task initiation, because these concepts help explain what may be happening underneath behavior that can otherwise look confusing, frustrating, or personal. We try to help families understand that the neurodivergent person is not always being lazy, oppositional, careless, dramatic, disrespectful, or intentionally difficult. We explain that a child, spouse, sibling, parent, or loved one may be overwhelmed, understimulated, flooded, stuck in transition, struggling to sequence, or unable to access the internal start button that helps a person move from knowing what to do into actually doing it. But there is another conversation that matters just as much. We also need to help the neurodivergent loved one understand how the neurotypical family member moves through life. Because sometimes what feels like criticism may actually be a nervous system, an executive functioning system that is firing on all cylinders. The neurotypical may not be trying to control the room. They may be sequencing. They may not be trying to make you feel bad. They may be forecasting. They may not be trying to nag. They may be holding time, predicting consequences, managing invisible details, and trying to prevent the next breakdown before it becomes a family crisis. And if you are neurodivergent, this matters because understanding the neurotypical person does not mean you are wrong. It means you are learning the operating system of someone you love, just as you hope they learn yours. When I say neurotypical, I am not saying they are better or healthier or superior. Neurotypical simply means that a person's brain tends to process attention, routines, time, transitions, and daily expectations in a way that lines up more easily with what society often expects. Neurodivergent means the brain processes, organizes, focuses, regulates, or responds differently. ADHD is one form of neurodivergence, and it can affect attention regulation, working memory, task initiation, sequencing, emotional regulation, time awareness, impulse control, and follow through. Neither brain is the right brain. They are different operating systems. The problem happens when each brain assumes the other brain is experiencing the same task in the same way. For the neurotypical, daily life often appears as a series of connected steps. Their brain may automatically see what needs to happen first, what needs to happen next, what will happen if one step is missed, and who will be affected if the system breaks down. This is called sequencing. Sequencing is the brain's ability to organize steps in the correct order, so a task can be completed from beginning to end. For a neurotypical person, sequencing may happen so quickly that they do not even realize they are doing it. They walk into a room and see the unfinished task, the next step, the missing item, and the future consequence all at once. To a neurodivergent loved one, this can feel intense. It can feel like the neurotypical person is always noticing what is wrong. But from inside the neurotypical brain, it may feel like the steps are lighting up automatically. It is not always, I am trying to criticize you. Sometimes it is, I can see the next 7 things that are about to fall apart if we do not address this one thing right now. This can be difficult for a neurodivergent loved one to understand because the neurodivergent brain may experience the world more through immediacy, stimulation, urgency, emotion, novelty, or what is directly in front of them. That does not mean the neurodivergent does not care at all. It means the brain may not automatically connect the same dots in the same order. The neurotypical may see the entire chain, while the neurodivergent may only see the single link in front of them. This is where misunderstanding begins. One person thinks, how do you not see what needs to happen? The other person thinks, why are you making this such a big deal? Both people are reacting from their own nervous system logic. The neurotypical person is often responding to the pattern and the future consequence. The neurodivergent is often responding to the emotional pressure of the immediate request. Take making dinner. For the neurotypical, dinner is not just one task. It is a full system. They may walk through the grocery store and already be building the meal in their mind from start to finish. If they are making tacos, they are thinking about tortillas, meat, seasoning, cheese, lettuce, salsa, avocado, sour cream, beans, rice, napkins, drinks, maybe leftovers for tomorrow, and whether the kids will actually eat it or stage a tiny dinner table protest. If they are making salmon, they may be thinking about the fish, the marinade, the vegetable, the starch, the salad, the lemon, the oven temperature, the timing of the side dish, and whether the dishwasher needs to be emptied before dinner dishes start piling up. They are not simply buying ingredients. They are mentally rehearsing the entire evening. This is called prospective cognition. Prospective cognition is the brain's ability to think ahead, imagine a future need, anticipate possible obstacles, and take action in the present to prevent a problem from happening later. In everyday family life, this shows up constantly. The neurotypical partner is not just standing in the grocery aisle looking at chicken, pasta, or vegetables. Their brain has already moved several hours ahead. They are mentally standing in the kitchen at 6 p.m., picturing hungry children, homework spread across the table, sports practice starting soon, tired bodies walking through the door, dishes piling up, lunches that still need to be packed for tomorrow, and whether this meal is actually realistic with the time, energy, ingredients, and emotional bandwidth available. That is why a simple grocery store decision may not feel simple at all. When a neurodivergent partner, parent, sibling, or loved one says, "Can't we just figure it out later?" they may genuinely believe they are being flexible. But to the neurotypical person, later is not neutral. Later is already visible. Later has a shape. Later has hungry kids, missing ingredients, a messy kitchen, a dysregulated evening, and one exhausted parent carrying the mental load of making the whole system work. The irritation is not just about the grocery item. It is about the future stress they are already trying to prevent. From the neurodivergent perspective, the neurotypical may seem like they are overthinking, controlling, or making the moment heavier than it needs to be. From the neurotypical perspective, they are not trying to control the moment. They are trying to protect the evening. They are scanning ahead, identifying weak spots, and trying to reduce chaos before everyone is tired and less regulated. Both experiences can be true at the same time. The neurodivergent brain may be responding to the present moment while the neurotypical brain is already managing the future. When the neurodivergent loved one can understand this, the intensity often starts to make more sense. The question is not really, why are you making such a big deal about dinner? The deeper question is, can you see the number of invisible steps I am already holding in my mind? Prospective cognition is one reason the neurotypical partner may feel emotionally flooded by what looks like a small decision. They are not only choosing food, they are trying to prevent the family system from falling apart 3 hours from now. A simple grocery trip is another place where the neurotypical mental load becomes very visible. A neurodivergent loved one may walk into the grocery store and see food. The neurotypical may walk into the grocery store and see meals, timing, missing ingredients, budgets, preferences, leftovers, school lunches, dinner windows, and the emotional reality of who will actually eat what. They are not just thinking, we need chicken. They are thinking, if I buy chicken, what meal does that become? Do we have rice at home? Are we out of olive oil? Do we need lemons? Will the kids eat broccoli, or should I get corn? Is there enough protein for breakfast tomorrow? Do we need snacks for practice? Do we have dog food? Are we out of paper towels? Will this meal work on a night when someone has sports at 5:30 and someone else has homework? This is called cognitive sequencing, which means the brain is organizing steps and details in the order they need to happen. It is not just choosing groceries. It is mentally moving from grocery aisle to refrigerator, to dinner prep, to table, to leftovers, to tomorrow morning. For the neurotypical person, the grocery store is often not a collection of random items. It is a map of the household's next several days. They may know that tacos require tortillas, meat, seasoning, cheese, lettuce, salsa, avocado, sour cream, napkins, and maybe beans or rice. They may know that salmon requires the fish, lemon, butter, or olive oil, a vegetable, a starch, and enough time to cook it before someone melts down from hunger. They may be planning around picky eating, food sensitivities, sports schedules, school lunches, and whether the dishwasher is empty enough to handle dinner dishes later. This is also why helping with dinner can mean two completely different things to two different brains. A neurodivergent loved one may think helping means standing in the kitchen and waiting to be told what to do. But the neurotypical may experience true help as someone else carrying part of the mental sequence. They may want someone to notice that the rice takes longer than the vegetables, that the table needs to be set while the food cooks, that the dishwasher needs to be unloaded before plates can go in, that the chicken needs a clean cutting board, and that the leftovers need containers before the kitchen becomes a crime scene involving sauce, crumbs, and emotional fatigue. Helping does not only mean completing one visible task. Helping means carrying part of the cognitive load. Cognitive load is the amount of mental effort required to hold, organize, prioritize, and act on information. Dinner has cognitive load. Laundry has cognitive load. Getting out the door has cognitive load. Planning appointments has cognitive load. Packing for sports has cognitive load. Packing for a trip has cognitive load. Managing pets has cognitive load. Hosting guests has cognitive load. The neurotypical may become exhausted not because they are weak, dramatic, or controlling, but because they are carrying the invisible thinking behind the task before the task even begins. The task may look small from the outside, but the mental architecture behind it can be enormous. A neurodivergent loved one can support the neurotypical person by taking ownership of one complete part of the dinner system. Not just saying, tell me what to do. Instead, try, I will own taco night on Tuesdays. I will check the ingredients, make the grocery list, cook the meal, and clean up afterward. That is ownership. Ownership means the responsibility no longer has to live inside someone else's head. Laundry is another perfect example. A neurodivergent may say, I did the laundry because they put clothes into the washer. But the neurotypical person may look at wet clothes sitting in the washer 6 hours later and think, no, you started the laundry. You did not complete the laundry. That difference matters. A task cycle is the full beginning, middle, and end of a responsibility. For laundry, the full cycle includes gathering clothes, sorting if needed, checking pockets, choosing the water temperature, adding detergent, starting the washer, remembering to transfer the clothes to the dryer, cleaning the lint trap, choosing the dryer setting, folding or hanging the clothes, sorting them by person, putting them away, and noticing whether towels, socks, uniforms, underwear, or sports clothes are running low. For the neurotypical, an unfinished laundry cycle is utterly maddening. Wet clothes left in the washer become mildew. A sports uniform left in the hamper becomes panic tomorrow. A towel shortage becomes chaos after showers. A missing sock becomes a morning delay. A shirt that needed to be air dried but went into the dryer becomes a new clothing problem. This is called anticipatory management. Anticipatory management means mentally preparing for future needs before they become urgent. The neurotypical person may be thinking ahead to tomorrow morning, tonight's showers, Friday's game, the school uniform, the work shirt, and whether the family will have what they need. The neurodivergent person may be thinking, why are you upset? I put the laundry in. Both people are looking at the same task, but they are standing in different parts of the sequence. This is where task completion becomes important. Task completion means finishing the entire responsibility, not just beginning it. Many neurodivergent people struggle not because they refuse to help, but because the task disappears from awareness after the first step. This can be related to working memory, task switching, and time awareness. Working memory is the ability to hold information in mind long enough to use it. For example, someone may put the laundry in and fully intend to move it to the dryer, but once they leave the laundry room, the next step falls out of their mental workspace. Task switching is the ability to shift from one activity to another. A person may begin laundry, move into a game, a phone call, work, a text thread, or a project, and then have difficulty returning to the laundry without an external cue. Time awareness is the ability to sense time passing and understand when the next step needs to happen. If all three are inconsistent, laundry can easily get stuck halfway. This is why a written laundry checklist next to the washer can be so powerful. It externalizes the task cycle so the neurotypical person does not have to keep carrying it verbally. The posted direction is not an insult. It is not babying. It is not saying, you are incapable. It is saying, let's make the invisible steps visible so one person does not have to keep becoming the reminder system. The start of the morning is one of the clearest examples of how differently neurotypical and neurodivergent brains may move through time. A neurotypical may wake up and immediately begin scanning the day. They may think about lunches, backpacks, water bottles, shoes, pets, school drop-off, work emails, appointments, sports gear, dinner, laundry, and everyone's emotional state before anyone else has fully opened their eyes. This is not always anxiety. Sometimes it is systems awareness, which means the brain is tracking the moving parts required for the household to function. The neurotypical may already know that if the backpack is not packed by 7:10, the morning will become rushed. If the child turns on a screen before school, the transition may become harder. If breakfast does not include protein, the child may crash before lunch. If the shoes are not by the door, everyone will be searching under couches at the exact moment they should be leaving. The neurotypical person is not only reacting to the moment, they are forecasting the morning. Forecasting means predicting what is likely to happen based on the current conditions. They may see the shoes missing and already imagine the delay, the frustration, the school drop-off stress, and the emotional cleanup that follows. Getting out the door is another place where the neurotypical brain can feel deeply misunderstood. A A neurotypical parent, partner, sibling, or loved one may look at the clock and instantly reverse engineer the timeline. Reverse engineering means starting with the final goal and working backward to determine what needs to happen. If school starts at 8 o'clock, they know the family needs to leave by 7:35. If they need to leave by 7:35, shoes need to be on by 7:25. If shoes need to be on by 7:25, breakfast needs to be finished by 7:10. If breakfast needs to be finished by 7:10, the lunchbox, backpack, water bottle, jacket, and permission slip need to be ready before that. Their brain is holding the whole timeline, whether anyone else can see it or not. This is where time awareness matters again. Time awareness is the ability to sense time passing and understand how long tasks actually take. Many neurotypical people feel time in their body. They feel the urgency of 10 minutes. They sense the deadline approaching. They know that almost ready is not the same as actually being in the car with shoes on, backpack packed, lunchbox in hand, and the dog no longer following everyone out the front door like he has been invited to algebra. For a neurodivergent person with time blindness, time may feel vague until the deadline is right on top of them. Time blindness is difficulty sensing time, estimating duration, or feeling future consequences as real in the present moment. So the neurotypical person may seem intense, but they are often carrying the invisible clock for everyone. The neurotypical may say, "We need to leave in 5 minutes," and inside their body, that means move now. The neurodivergent person may hear 5 minutes and feel like there is still plenty of time. This mismatch can create enormous conflict. The neurotypical person feels ignored. The neurodivergent person feels rushed. The neurotypical person increases urgency. The neurodivergent person feels criticized. The morning becomes a nervous system collision. The solution is not simply for the neurotypical person to stop caring about time, or for the neurodivergent person to magically feel time more accurately. The solution is to externalize time with visual timers, alarms, written routines, checklists, and predictable departure sequences. When time becomes visible, it does not have to live entirely in the neurotypical person's nervous system. The end of the night works the same way. A neurotypical may not see bedtime as simply go to bed. They see tomorrow morning being built the night before. They may think backpacks need to be packed, lunches need to be started, clothes need to be chosen, devices need to be charged outside the bedroom, sports gear needs to be by the door, water bottles need to be washed, the dishwasher needs to run, the dog needs to go out, and everyone needs enough sleep to function tomorrow. This is called future-oriented planning, which means organizing the present moment around what will be needed later. For the neurodivergent loved one, the end of the night may feel like, can we just relax? And that is understandable. But for the neurotypical person, relaxing may be difficult when tomorrow morning is still sitting open in their mind. They may not be trying to ruin the evening. They may be trying to prevent the morning from becoming a 5-alarm fire in pajamas. Packing for sports or activities is another example. The neurotypical parent, sibling, partner, or loved one may not see a sports bag as one item. They see cleats, socks, shin guards, uniform, water bottle, snack, sunscreen, towel, goggles, mouth guard, sail ties, skates, gloves, stick, helmet, script pages, instrument, or whatever the activity requires. They are also seeing the emotional consequence if something is forgotten. If the cleats are missing, the child may panic. If the goggles are forgotten, swim practice becomes frustrating. If the sail ties are missing, sailing may become stressful. If the script is left at home, rehearsal becomes embarrassing. If the mouth guard is forgotten, the child may not be allowed to participate. The neurotypical person is often scanning for future breakdowns because they know the emotional fallout will often land back in the family system. And this is where executive function scaffolding can help. Executive function scaffolding means creating external supports that help someone plan, organize, remember, sequence, and follow through. A gear checklist by the door is scaffolding. A bin for each activity is scaffolding. A packing routine the night before is scaffolding. A visual calendar is scaffolding. A laminated list attached to the sports bag is scaffolding. These systems are not babying the neurodivergent person. They are reducing the amount of invisible work the neurotypical person has been carrying alone. They also help the neurodivergent person build independence because responsibility becomes visible, concrete, and repeatable. A helpful reframe for the neurodivergent loved one is this: when someone asks you to use the checklist, they may not be trying to control you. They may be trying to stop being the checklist. Travel is one of the best examples of the neurotypical mental load because it requires sequencing, forecasting, time awareness, contingency planning, and emotional regulation all at once. A neurodivergent loved one may hear, "We are going on a trip," and think about the destination. The neurotypical person may immediately think about luggage, laundry, toiletries, medications, chargers, passports, IDs, boarding passes, transportation, parking, traffic, snacks, weather, pet care, house security, confirmation numbers, and whether everyone has enough clean underwear. Glamorous? No. Necessary? Absolutely. Packing for a trip is not just putting clothes into a suitcase. It is an entire executive function sequence. Executive function is the brain's management system. It helps with planning, organizing, remembering, sequencing, prioritizing, and following through. For travel, the neurotypical person may think, how many days are we gone? What is the weather? Do we need dress clothes? Do we need swimsuits? Are there chargers? Are medications packed? Do we need sunscreen? Do we need snacks for the airport? Is the suitcase under the weight limit? Do the kids have headphones? Does someone need motion sickness medicine? Is the dog staying with someone? Did we lock the back door? Did we turn off the thermostat? Did we pack the passport? Did we check in online? Then there is getting to the airport, which is basically an Olympic sport in time awareness. The neurotypical brain may reverse engineer the whole schedule. If the flight leaves at 10 o'clock, boarding may start at 9:20. If boarding starts at 9:20, we need to be through security by 9 o'clock. If security might take 45 minutes, we need to arrive by 8:15. If it takes 35 minutes to drive, we need to leave by 7:30. If we need to leave by 7:30, bags need to be packed the night before, not at 7:12, while someone is looking for one sandal and announcing they cannot find their charger. This is called backward planning, which means starting with the final deadline and working backward to decide when each step needs to happen. Neurotypical people may do this automatically. Neurodivergent people may not feel the urgency until the deadline is immediate. That mismatch is where conflict often happens. The neurotypical person may sound intense because they are trying to protect the timeline. The neurodivergent person may feel pressured because the urgency does not feel real yet. Travel also requires contingency planning, which means preparing for what might go wrong. The neurotypical person may think about traffic, parking delays, long security lines, a child getting hungry, a forgotten ID, a delayed flight, a dead phone, a missing charger, or a suitcase that is too heavy. They are not being negative. They are trying to prevent predictable stress. That is the invisible map again. They are not only seeing the trip, they are seeing the trip, plus every possible breakdown between the house and the gate. A neurodivergent loved one could support this by taking ownership of one full travel category. For example, I will own chargers and electronics. That means gathering chargers, headphones, tablets, battery packs, and adapters, and checking them before leaving. Or, I will own pet care. That means confirming the sitter, food, medication, key access, and emergency contact. Or, I will own my own packing list. That means checking clothes, toiletries, shoes, medication, and travel documents without someone else having to ask 5 times. That is how the neurotypical person begins to feel relief. Not because everyone becomes perfect, but because the invisible map becomes shared. Appointments are another place where the neurotypical brain often sees more than the event itself. A dentist appointment is not just a dentist appointment. It is transportation, school timing, work schedule, insurance information, paperwork, traffic, parking, possible anxiety, meals, siblings, after-school activities, and whether the appointment conflicts with practice. The neurotypical person may hear Thursday at 3:30 and immediately start calculating the whole logistical web. What time does school get out? How long will the drive take? Does someone need to leave work early? Will there be traffic? Does the child need to eat before? Do we need insurance cards? Is there paperwork? Will this interfere with practice? Who is taking the other child home? This is called logistical mapping. Logistical mapping is the mental process of organizing the practical details required to make an event happen successfully. The neurotypical person may be doing this silently all day long. They may be mapping appointments, groceries, homework, sports, bills, dinner, laundry, pets, and emotional needs at the same time. The neurodivergent person may only hear dentist Thursday and assume it is handled. Again, this is not about one brain being better. It is about one brain often seeing the logistical chain automatically while the other may need the chain made visible. A shared calendar, appointment reminders, written prep lists, and clear ownership can prevent one person from silently carrying the entire web. Cleaning before guests come over is another example. The neurotypical person may walk through the house and see categories: kitchen counters, dishes, bathroom, hand towels, trash, floors, entryway, dog hair, clutter, candles, drinks, seating, and whether there is toilet paper in the guest bathroom. The neurodivergent person may say, "The house looks fine," because they are looking generally, but the neurotypical person may be mentally walking through the guest's experience from the moment they enter the house. Where will they put their purse? Is the bathroom clean? Does the sink look presentable? Are there enough cups? Is Georgia's golden retriever hair about to become a complimentary party favor? This is not necessarily perfectionism. It may be environmental scanning. Environmental scanning means the brain is noticing what is unfinished, missing, out of place, or likely to create friction. For the neurotypical person, unfinished tasks can feel like open tabs in the mind. An empty paper towel roll is not just an empty paper towel roll, it is a future inconvenience. The school paper on the counter is not just paper. It is a permission slip, a due date, a payment, and a possible morning emergency. The dog food running low is not just a note, it is a future errand. The vacuum full of dog hair is not just a vacuum. It is another task waiting to be completed. This is why the neurotypical person may seem unable to relax. Their brain is still tracking open loops. An open loop is an unfinished task or unresolved responsibility that continues to take up mental space. The neurotypical person may be holding dozens of open loops at once: lunches, laundry, appointments, work emails, sports schedules, pet care, groceries, dinner, homework, emotional tone in the house, trash bags, birthday gifts, permission slips, medication refills, car registration, vet appointments. When no one else appears to see those open loops, the neurotypical person may begin to feel alone, resentful, and exhausted. This is where resentment is not simply anger. Resentment is often the emotional residue of being over-relied on, under-supported, and unseen for too long. Pet care is another clear example. A neurotypical person may notice the dog food is low and immediately think, if I do not order it today, we may run out by Friday. They may notice the water bowl is empty, the cat litter needs changing, the vet appointment needs scheduling, the flea medication is due, the dog needs a walk, and the vacuum is full of George's hair again. The neurodivergent person may love the pet deeply, but may not automatically register the maintenance chain unless the system makes it visible. Love and follow through are not the same skill. Caring and noticing are not the same skill. That distinction can reduce a lot of shame and conflict. A neurodivergent child, sibling, partner, or loved one may genuinely love the dog and still not notice the water bowl. They may adore the cat and still forget the litter. They may want to help and still not track the food supply. That does not mean they are bad, but it also does not mean the neurotypical person should have to carry every pet-related open loop alone. This is where visible systems matter. A pet care checklist, recurring reminders, an automatic food delivery subscription, a whiteboard near the food bowl, or one assigned pet task that belongs to the neurodivergent loved one fully. This is also important in parenting. A neurotypical parent may not only see a child melting down over shoes, they may see that the child went to bed too late, had too much screen time, skipped protein at breakfast, forgot the backpack, cannot find the shoes, and now has to transition into the car. The neurotypical parent may be tracking the entire regulation ecosystem. A regulation ecosystem is the collection of factors that affect a person's ability to stay emotionally and physically organized. Sleep, food, hydration, movement, sensory input, screen time, routine, expectations, and emotional tone all affect regulation. So when the neurotypical parent says, "This is why we needed to get ready earlier," they may not be criticizing. They may be naming a pattern they have seen many times. The neurodivergent loved one may experience this as, "You are always blaming me." But the neurotypical person may be thinking, "I am watching the pattern repeat, and I am trying to prevent the crash." This is especially true in ADHD homes, where dysregulation can build across the day. Too little sleep, too much screen time, too little protein, rushed transitions, forgotten items, and emotional pressure can all stack together. The meltdown at the door may look like it came from nowhere, but the neurotypical person may have seen the ingredients building all morning. School paperwork or forms are another example. The neurotypical person may see a permission slip and immediately think, sign it, pay the fee, put it back in the folder, remind the child to turn it in, check the due date, add the field trip to the calendar, make sure the child has lunch that day, and possibly arrange transportation. The neurodivergent person may see a piece of paper. The neurotypical person sees a chain of responsibility. This is why they may become irritated when the paper sits on the counter. To them, the paper is not just paper. It is an unfinished loop with a deadline attached to it. A good system could be a school paper inbox, a weekly calendar review, a folder labeled Needs Signature, or a rule that all forms go in the same visible place. Again, this is not about controlling the neurodivergent person. It is about preventing the neurotypical person from becoming the only person who notices the consequence attached to the paper. Managing work and home at the same time creates another layer. A neurotypical partner, parent, sibling, or adult child may be answering emails while also thinking about dinner, laundry, school pickup, pet food, a child's emotional state, an aging parent, a prescription refill, and whether the sports uniform is clean. This is called divided attention. Divided attention is the ability to manage or monitor more than one stream of information at a time. Many neurotypical people can do this fairly automatically, though that does not mean it is not exhausting. A neurodivergent loved one may not realize that the neurotypical person is not simply checking email. They are checking email while mentally running the household operating system in the background. This is one reason the neurotypical may feel depleted by the end of the day. They may not have done one massive task. They may have done hundreds of micro tasks, micro calculations, micro decisions, and micro adjustments. That is real labor. It may be invisible, but it is not imaginary. This is where the term mental load becomes essential. Mental load is the invisible cognitive and emotional labor of managing life. It includes remembering that something needs to happen, planning how it will happen, monitoring whether it happened, anticipating what will go wrong if it does not happen, and often absorbing the emotional consequences when the system breaks down. The mental load is not just doing the task, it is carrying the responsibility before, during, and after the task. The neurotypical is often not criticizing as much as they are sequencing, forecasting, organizing, and trying to prevent the next breakdown. Forecasting means the ability to predict what is likely to happen based on the current situation. The neurotypical person sees the missing lunchbox and imagines the school phone call. They see the wet laundry and imagine mildew. They see the unpacked sports bag and imagine the meltdown before practice. They see the empty refrigerator and imagine the dinner crisis at 6 p.m. They see the unsigned form and imagine the child being left out. They see the low dog food and imagine one more errand at the worst possible time. They are not always trying to be negative. They are trying to protect the system from consequences they can already see coming. If the neurotypical could explain their inner world, they might say, I am not trying to control everything. I am trying to keep everything from falling apart. They might say, I am not mad about one backpack. I am tired of being the only person who remembers the backpack. They might say, I am not asking for perfection. I am asking for participation. They might say, I do not want to nag. I want a system that makes nagging unnecessary. They might say, I am not trying to shame you. I am trying to get help before I become resentful. They might say, I love you, and I am tired. And perhaps most importantly, they might say, I understand your brain needs support, but my nervous system needs relief. That last line matters. I understand your brain needs support, but my nervous system needs relief. For the neurodivergent person, the neurotypical loved one can feel like pressure. It can feel like they are always noticing what is wrong, always asking for something, always moving ahead, always making the present moment more stressful. But for the neurotypical person, it may feel like they are the only ones seeing what needs to happen. That is where compassion needs to go both ways. The neurotypical person needs to understand that the neurodivergent brain may need systems, visual cues, smaller steps, movement, reminders, and external supports. And the neurodivergent person needs to understand that the neurotypical brain may be carrying an invisible map of the entire household. If you are neurodivergent and you are listening to this episode is meant to help you understand the person who may be carrying more than you realize. One of the most loving things you can do is stop making your loved one ask repeatedly for what already has a system. Use the checklist, look at the calendar, check the bin, set the alarm, use the AirTag, follow the posted directions. Take ownership of one recurring task until it is truly yours. Ownership means the task no longer has to live in someone else's head. If you own trash, you notice it, empty it, replace the bag, take it outside, and return the bin. If you own your sports bag, you check the list, pack it the night before, and experience the consequence if something is missing. If you own laundry, you learn the steps, follow the posted directions, and finish the cycle all the way to putting clothes away. If you own pet care, you feed the animal, refill the water, notice when supplies are low, and communicate when something needs to be ordered. If you own dinner one night a week, you plan it, shop for it, cook it, and clean up after it. If you own one travel category, you pack it, check it, and make sure it is ready before the family is walking out the door. Ownership is not just doing something when reminded. Ownership is carrying the responsibility. That is what gives the neurotypical person relief. A beautiful repair statement from the neurodivergent loved one might sound like this. I am realizing that when you ask me to do something, you may not be criticizing me. You may be seeing steps and consequences that I am not seeing yet. I want to get better at using systems so you do not have to carry all of that alone. A repair statement from the neurotypical person might sound like this. I am realizing that when I see the whole sequence, I sometimes assume you should see it too. I am going to work on making the steps more visible without turning every reminder into criticism. That is the bridge. Not blame, not shame, not one brain being better than the other, just two different operating systems learning how to understand each other, respect each other, and build systems that stop making one person carry the whole family alone. As we close today's episode, I want you to remember that the neurotypical person often moves through life carrying sequence, time, missing pieces, future consequences, and invisible responsibility. They may look intense from the outside, but inside they may feel exhausted from holding the entire system together. And if you are the neurotypical parent, partner, brother, sister, adult child, roommate, or loved one, I want you to hear this. Your exhaustion makes sense. Your irritation is not a character flaw. Your resentment is information. It is your nervous system saying, this pattern is too heavy for one person. And if you are the neurodivergent loved one, I want you to hear this too. Needing support does not make you bad. But relying on someone else to carry all the support can damage the relationship. The goal is not shame. The goal is shared structure. Because the path to peace is not one person doing everything perfectly. The path to peace is the family learning how each brain works, building systems that support those brains, and creating shared responsibility so no one person has to carry the whole home alone. This episode is for educational purposes and to provide support. It is not a substitute for professional mental health evaluation, diagnosis, or treatment. The more we learn to recognize the signs behind the behaviors, the more compassion and support we can offer to our kids, our partners, our siblings, our parents, and ourselves. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this episode was helpful, I'd love it if you shared it with a fellow parent, caregiver, partner, sibling, adult child, or educator who might need it too. You can also subscribe to stay up to date on future episodes and check out additional tools and resources at thepathtoppeacetherapy.com. Follow me on Instagram at thepathtoppeacetherapy. If you are in California, I offer virtual sessions if you are not in the Hermosa Beach or South Bay area. You can book online at the Path to Peace Therapy. And as always, take a deep breath, give yourself some grace, and remember, peace is possible, and you do not have to do this alone.